Freya,
Here.
Sophia,
Here.
Kimberly,
Here.
we're all here. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have our student representative to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You're muted, Rosie.
Yeah, Sarah's not connected yet.
Okay. And are we? If you all want to unmute yourself and join me to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we will start with our communications. Rosie, I didn't print the first.
Just real quick, Lizette, we need a approval of agenda.
Yes, I didn't have a regular board meeting agenda printed out on the first page, so I apologize. Yes, thank you, Freya. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Freya.
We need a second.
And second.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Kim?
Lizette,
Aye.
Mary Beth,
Aye.
Freya,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Kimberly,
Aye.
5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move on to communications, and we will start with public comments. Which do we have them? Are they for this? Are they for this item or?
These are general public comments tonight, not about agendized items. And if you will allow me, President Cortez, I would be happy to read these comments. They were written in, many of them are on the same topic, but they are of, they're different. And so if you'll allow me, I will read the comments tonight. I just do want to remind the public that public comments, the board does not respond to public comments, but they're listening. And they do get posted in our minutes, and we appreciate the public comments. There are many tonight, particularly on the topic of the governor's mandate of the COVID-19 vaccine, as I understand. And President Cortez, if you want me to read those comments, I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you. I would really appreciate it. I also would like to remind the public the raise hand feature because we are remote. We are doing this where people are allowed to raise their hand if they have a comment in live time. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, very good. The first comment is from Angela Bolton regarding raises for Cabrillo Unified School District teachers. And Angela writes, our turnover in teachers is too high. They leave our district to make salaries of $20,000 more over the hill. We have 17% quote unquote extra in funds when are only required to have 3%. We can afford to pay our teachers better wages. This would help keep our wonderful teachers here in our district. Next comment from Libby Garcia, a parent. Vaccination and masks should be and are a personal choice. As a free people, we deserve the right and the dignity to evaluate the risks and to decide for ourselves. On facts alone, the vaccine mandate is blatantly unconstitutional and presents a grave violation of fundamental rights. It claims the government owns your body and can force you to be injected with absolutely anything the government labels a vaccine. The CDC noticeably had to change their own definition of vaccines in order to push the mRNA gene therapy propaganda, claiming it's a vaccine when it isn't. If the American people don't own their body, then they are slave property owned by the government, and we have at that point reestablished slavery in America. There's also the issue of discrimination based on what's in your blood, with the Biden vaccine mandate claiming no one should be allowed to work unless they have toxic spike protein nanoparticles coursing through their veins. He's essentially demanding that you're only allowed to work a job if you commit vaccine suicide as an act of obedience to the state. That's simply not acceptable. In fact, it's an assault on humanity. Even worse, the experimental vaccine destroys immune function and accelerates cancer tumor growth across across the body, meaning that taking the vaccine actually reduces a person's health and lifespan. Thus, a decision to take the vaccine is an irrational choice that harms society as well as harming the body. I was appalled to find our school board sent a letter to Governor Newsom asking him to mandate this vaccine for our children. This is our choice as parents. Our children have a right to their education unmasked and COVID vaccine free. I'm willing to pull all 3 of my children from this district if you push for a vaccine mandate for children. Carol Tiura, community member, wrote, our school-age kids should not be mandated to get the COVID-19 vaccine. This vaccine mandate is unconstitutional and takes away a parent's right to make decisions for their children. Please do not ask the government to enforce this mandate again. The school board should not be pushing this on families. Let the parents make that choice based off of the needs and beliefs of each family and child. The science shows that masks do not help and can be dangerous for children to wear for so many hours during the day. If this school district forces this vaccine mandate and mask mandate, we will pull our children from CUSD to homeschool. Colin Tiura writes, the Cabrillo Unified School District should not be asking the governor to mandate this vaccine. It's a parent's right to choose what is right for their child. Children are not super spreaders of COVID, nor do they get sick and die from COVID. The survival rate is essentially 100%. Forcing all children to get the vaccine is reckless and more likely to cause injuries to our children. Are you willing to take responsibility for vaccine injuries that can happen to these children you are asking to be vaccinated to attend school? Look at the science. It is happening at an alarming rate. Do not require COVID vaccines for school-age children, or we will take our kids out of the school district. You should also give the teachers a raise. They can easily make $20,000 more per year over the hill. You have the funds. Stop saying you don't. We see you and we want the best teachers for our kids. Enough is enough. From Hannah Formolo. Please do not enforce a mandate in our school district. This would prevent many kids from being able to attend school. This would be incredibly detrimental to so many, especially after the extended amount of school disruption we've had due to the pandemic. This shot has not been studied long enough to enforce all children to get it to attend school. There are many studies that show kids are not dying from COVID-19 and that there is much higher risk in taking the shot. Please allow parents to make this very personal choice for our families while allowing our kids to remain in school. Thank you. The next one is from Sherry Giovannoni. My name is Sherry Giovannoni. I have 4 children, 2 in Hatch, 1 in Cunha, and 1 at Half Moon Bay High School. Given the recent events taking place in California, I'm here to express my opposition to a few items. 1, a letter was sent to Governor Newsom by the board of directors addressing their view that the vaccine mandate for the CUSD is necessary. I would like to understand if anyone on the board of directors has children currently attending the school district. The letter did not address my view of the mandate, and in fact, I'm against the vaccine mandate for the schools. The COVID death rate for children is 0.00007%. It should be up to the parents to decide what we want to inject our children with. Number 2, according to the FDA panel, they mentioned there isn't enough data, but we need to get it. This means that our children are the testers for an experimental drug. If something adversely occurred to my children, I would never be able to forgive myself. Number 3, requesting parents to be vaccinated in order to volunteer at the school is unacceptable and putting parents in a box. COVID is still transmissible whether you are vaccinated or not. The state has not mandated this, so why does the district believe it should be the one mandating it? Number 4, aligning the schools with the same policies with regard to masks outdoors. Masks have no efficiency in preventing the spread of COVID. The label itself states this. My kids have come home with colds that have been going around the school, even though you make them wear one. The next one is from Diana Jenkins, mother of 2 boys at CUSD. Hi, I'm writing to you today in regards to my concerns regarding a school COVID vaccine mandate regarding our children. I just want to start off saying thank you for opening back up and implementing in-person instruction in the midst of a pandemic. We are truly grateful. In the process of going through this pandemic, we've learned a lot of new information regarding this virus, such as how resilient a healthy child's immune system can be and how the majority of child cases are mild. With that said, I feel that a school vaccine mandate for an emergency use drug that has not had enough time for clinical trials and possible adverse side effects long-term puts CUSD pushing the envelope legally. I felt blindsided that CUSD did not feel that they should discuss parents' views of the vaccine regarding the children before demanding that Governor Newsom mandate the COVID vaccine to the list of required vaccines to legally enter CUSD. This leads me to my next question. Is it true that districts that don't comply with the state health order, which will add COVID-19 to the list of vaccinations required for school attendance, will be subject to a state compliance audit and would lose state funding for each student that does not have the vaccine and continues to attend in-person schooling? I hope this was not hesitate response with CUSD regarding money. CUSD strives to say they want parent involvement, but I did not see that regarding this very serious letter. How do parents not have a say in that? You are pushing kids out of classrooms into distant learning if they do not comply. Not only that, the district needs to be reminded maybe that it is a parent's choice to vaccinate their children, and blackmailing them into negotiations about their child's future education does not seem like a reasonable or fair one at that. Please, I ask of you to consider the parent's voice choice in this delicate matter of a required COVID vaccine for our children. The studies are so premature, especially in regards to our children. From Carrie DeMartini, a parent.
Sean, if I may?
Yes.
In the previous comment from Sherry Giovanni, no, I'm sorry, I'm not even gonna, I apologize if I didn't pronounce the last name correctly. The last paragraph you skipped, and just make sure we read the last paragraph.
Oh, thank you very much. Once again, our children are our choice. There's no place for the government making parents' decisions on what experimental drugs are injected into our children's bodies. If this does happen, my children will no longer be going to this district. And then provides, thank you for your time, and her name and the email and phone number, which I will not read. Sorry about that. Carrie DeMartini, today I write to you as a concerned parent and a homeowner. I have recently become aware that the school board wrote a letter to Governor Newsom urging him to include the COVID-19 vaccine on the required schedule for students. Out of over 10,000 cases of COVID-19 in people ages 0 to 19 in San Mateo County, there have been 0 deaths. This virus does not affect children the same way as adults. It is not the job of kids to protect adults. We need to be protecting the children. Since there are 0 long-term studies on this vaccine, it needs to remain a personal decision, not a mandated one. Parents should be able to make all medical decisions for their children, not the state. If this becomes required to attend schools, I will be pulling my son from Cabrillo to homeschool. Another concern I have is about teacher staff salaries. When the parcel tax was passed a few years ago, the community was told the money would be to recruit and retain teachers. As we all know, there are many unfilled positions in the district at this moment. Students of all ages are being taught by uncredentialed substitutes. This is not okay. Our kids deserve better. The district has over 16% in reserves and is only required to keep 3%. I've heard we have to save for a rainy day. This is ridiculous. I'm not okay with my child getting the bare minimum while he's in school so that students 5 to 10 years from now can have what he deserves now. Please pay the teachers and staff here at Cabrillo competitive salary so that we can recruit and retain teachers as was promised with the passing of the last parcel tax. Evelyn France writes, as both a longtime resident of the coast side and a parent of a future student at CUSD schools, I wanted to share that I would feel comfortable sending my child to school without mandatory vaccination of the other students. I believe each parent and family should be able to determine the best risk-benefit ratio for their own children. I therefore oppose vaccine mandates in our school district. Angela Bolton. I believe this, did I get this one earlier? Maybe not.
She has 2 different comments.
Okay, my concern tonight is the possibility of vaccine mandates for K-12 graders, K to 12th graders. It is my request that you choose to not support, enforce, or comply with Governor Newsom's proposed vaccine mandate. Basic freedoms like an education should not require a medical procedure. It is not ethically moral for the board or government to impose this mandate on students and dismiss parental choice. I feel that if the school board complies, both you and the government are taking control of my children. To help dispel the fear, I want to point out a few things. Stanford epidemiologist Dr. Jay Bhattacharya says recent studies indicate the COVID vaccine is a matter of personal health, not public health. Unlike most of the other childhood vaccines, it has been shown repeatedly in our literature that being COVID vaccinated does not stop infection or transmission. For these reasons, the vaccine does not contribute to public health. The vaccine must be a personal choice. When looking at leading causes of death in children, we see that COVID is still much lower than the flu. We are not scared of the flu and do not mandate the flu vaccine. Although you feel that vaccinating children for COVID will help parents feel comfortable keeping their kids in school, this is untrue for me and many others and still not a reason to mandate a medical procedure. Please stand up against the governor, your own fears, and what you hear from news reporters. These sources are not who or what should be making medical decisions. All medical procedures should be between a child's parent and the child's doctor. For the board to say that you know what is medically best for my child is false, overreaching, and frankly incorrect. Parental choice must always be allowed. Please add this topic to the agenda for the next meeting. Marlene Shapira. I would like to voice my strong opposition to a possible mandate of the COVID vaccine for students. The risks of adverse events from the shot far outweigh the risk of the virus for the children. The shot also does not stop transmission, so there's no benefit, only risk. There is also no long-term data. Children cannot be an experiment for drug companies. Also, school boards should not be determining what gets injected into a child in order for them to attend school for an education. Scott Delashaw. I oppose the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for our kids to get an education. This is not about anti-vax. There are other vaccines that children have to take, but have been around for over 50 years. This, our future, our children you're talking about. Whatever happened to having a choice? I may only speak for myself, but I do know others are opposed to this as well and are ready to pull their children from school. I know you don't want that. Please understand that all of us as parents, and I'm sure some or all of you are parents as well, like to choose what is put in your child's body. Example, food and drink. We all, as parents, thrive to do what is best for our children. How can we do that if this is being forced upon us rather than having a choice? Christy Marzoka. I'm writing in as a concerned parent of 2 children in the Cabrillo School District. I was horrified when I found out that our entire school board wrote a letter to Governor Newsom asking him for a blanketed school mandate across California, asking government to make the final decision of whether or not to give an experimental drug to our children. The alternative, if we won't give the 2-dose vaccine regimen to our children, they will be punished by taking away school if they don't comply. The risk of this vaccine to children far exceeds the benefits. There have been 0 deaths in San Mateo County within the 0 to 19 range. The risk of myocarditis, where the heart muscle becomes inflamed and can have long-term effects, is something that needs to be looked into and studied more. Myocarditis has been seen in adolescents after the 2nd shot. Frankly, it's a risk I'm not taking with my children. The UK has halted giving the 2nd shot to adolescents, as has Norway. This is a decision that should be in the hands of parents. Taking kids who decline vaccination and preventing them from getting an in-person education is a draconian penalty. Pete Overfelt. You do not speak for our community by asking Governor Newsom to mandate vaccines for our children. We do not want vaccine mandates, and I will be pulling my child from school if you continue on this foolish path. Out of the over 10,000 cases of COVID-19 in people ages 0 to 19 in San Mateo County, there have been 0 deaths. This virus does not affect children the same way as adults. It is not the job of kids to protect adults. We need to be protecting the children. Since there are 0 long-term studies on this vaccine, it needs to remain a personal decision, not a mandated one. Parents should be able to make all medical decisions for their children, not the state. Another concern I have is about teacher staff salaries. When the parcel tax was passed a few years ago, the community was told the money would be to recruit and retain teachers. As we all know, there are many unfilled positions in the district at this moment. Students of all ages are being taught by uncredentialed substitutes. This is not okay. Our kids deserve better. The district has over 16% in reserves and is only required to keep 3%. I've heard we have to save for a rainy day. This is ridiculous. I'm not okay with my child getting the bare minimum while he's in school so that students 5 to 10 years from now can have what he deserves now. Please pay the teachers and staff here at Cabrillo competitive salaries so that we can recruit and retain teachers as was promised with the passing of the last parcel tax. Also, the advertising of sexuality at the grade school level is unacceptable. Please refrain from hanging LGBTQ banners at my child's school. Let the kids be kids, and parents speak to their own children on such matters. Rosemary Delashaw. I oppose the COVID-19 vaccine mandate to attend school. We as parents should have the choice. There should not be a choice for others to make. We will pull our children out of school if this happens. Freedom of choice is what we all should believe in. Tony Freitas. I've lived in this great town of Half Moon Bay for over 50 years. I've seen a lot and been a big part of this community. I was a part of City Hall, police station, and other establishments around this beautiful town. I oppose this mandate. Don't all of you see what you are doing to yourselves? This is not about us and right now. This is about the future and was to come after we are gone. Do you want your children to be subject to regulations forced upon them without choice? This is what is happening right before your eyes. Even your children's children will be affected by these choices. Remember, if you continue to force regulations upon yourselves, one day will come when you don't agree and it will be too late. You too will have to comply. God bless. And finally, Ricardo Garcia, parent of 3 and homeowner, writes, I am very concerned about this vaccine and it possibly being mandated for our kids to attend school. The studies have not been nearly long enough, and there have been too many adverse effects from the vaccine for me to want it for my children. One thing that stands out is the myocarditis and pericarditis, which have been prevalent in boys 12 to 19 years old. I have 2 boys in this age group, and I'm not willing to have them get the vaccine and see what happens. I am a parent, and I'm going to protect my children no matter what. And if that includes taking them out of the school district, I will do it. My family's business has supported CUSD financially, directly to the schools, to SIPA, and to various fundraisers. as well as ongoing sponsorship for high school sports. I will no longer be contributing to any of this if my kids do not attend in-person school. By mandating children to get the COVID-19 vaccine, you are not protecting them, but doing the complete opposite. Kids are not getting sick and dying from COVID. Look at the science and the current data. Please do not add the COVID-19 vaccine to your list of mandatory vaccines for children to attend school. And that concludes the 17 written comments tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that, Sean. I appreciate it. Sorry. And now we are moving on to, we don't have any raised hands, Rosie? Yes.
Yeah, we do have some. I'm gonna call names and I'm gonna be moving them to allow them to talk. First, we have Manuela Saint.
And just reminding everyone of the 3-minute time limit. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizette.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Manuel Hipkins. I'm a member of the High School Wellness Committee, and as such, I'm also a parent of 3 children. I wanted to address some things that came to my attention from parents in the community, and that has to do with divisive comments by teachers, staff, and children being said to other students who have, for whatever reason, chosen to have a different medical choice than others. One such comment was, anti-vax and anti-mask people will cause a civil war. This was stated by a social studies teacher at Cunha. There seems to be some passive-aggressive rhetoric being employed, and we all need to remember that the children deserve a safe learning environment. That's the duty of all school staff, administration, and teachers. Bullying by teachers to students is never an acceptable methodology. Personal opinion should stay personal and not be immersed into the education of our children. That's my personal opinion, and I hope others will share that. So I urge you to have in-services and talk to your teachers, staff, and administration and others, that we are indeed a community that includes all people of all faith and beliefs, and that includes health choices that families are making for their children for various reasons. All need to be treated with respect and equality. One other thing I wanted to point out, that children are getting yelled at, sent out of the classroom when their mask pulls off their nose for whatever reason. And here is in California Education Code, paragraph 49005.8. It prohibits physical restraint techniques that obstruct the pupil's respiratory airway or impairs the pupil's breathing of respiratory capacity. Number 4 says that never use a behavioral restraint technique, and that includes to cover a pupil's face. So please be mindful that sometimes people have to breathe, and respect people. Also, I would like to make a motion that this board needs to be meeting in person to hear the public comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manuela, and thank you for being here tonight. Do we have another person, Rosie? You're muted, Rosie, but.
We have Christina Baker.
Okay. Christina, whenever you're ready, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm going to try to read as fast as Dr. McFetridge did. Okay, so good evening, members of the board, Dr. McFetridge, and district administration. My name is Christina Baker. I'm a parent of 2 kids at Cabrillo Unified. I, too, speak this evening in response to the letter that was written and signed by the board on September 30th to Gavin Newsom. I would like to quote one of the segments from that letter. It said, community fear among transmission of students and staff also leads schools to enforce additional safety measures and limit opportunities for their students to fully engage in many of the opportunities that have traditionally accompanied the school experience. I'm curious as to how the information was concluded regarding that wording, community fear, in this letter. Were the parents, guardians surveyed to take their input about that? Were the students or staff, or is this more of a feeling? I ask how we might find out what is truly representative of the majority of the community that we serve. I also wonder if many of us have been to a high school football game on a Friday night under the lights. It is magical. The students and families have been there to support their fellow Cougars in this amazing high school experience, as well as many other sporting and extracurricular events that have occurred this fall for the Cougars. Half Moon Bay High School students also got to experience an outdoor homecoming dance recently. Although the structure may have been different than the traditional dance experience, the alterations to these types of events have been created for all to be as safe as possible so it could still happen. My point in saying this is that I personally witnessed the opposite of fear at the largest campus within CUSD. Watching students engage in the many activities that Cougar Pride has afforded them from being back to in-person learning has been really fun to witness. I even got to play in a cornhole tournament at lunch with one of my students. I'm just not sure the wording in the letter was accurate for some of the things that I see as a staff member. It truly feels great to be back. It's my opinion that things are feeling somewhat normal in regard to health safety. Many people have already, mentioned the mandate with the COVID-19 vaccine implemented under the immunizations for children to attend schools in California. I just want to read to you, 22 seconds. In a briefing document from Pfizer about vaccines to an advisory committee on October 26, 2021, page 11 states under their section for overall risk-benefit conclusions, the number of participants in the current clinical development program is too small to detect any potential risks of myocarditis associated with vaccination. Long-term safety of COVID-19 vaccination in participants 5 to under 12 years of age will be studied in 5 post-authorization safety studies, including a 5-year follow-up study to evaluate the long-term sequelae of post-vaccination myocarditis, pericarditis. What I'm reading comes from a Pfizer document. These are not minor risks for children associated with vaccination that they do talk about. All I ask the board, thank you, I know my time is up, just to consider giving families time. What about the parent whose child was born with a congenital heart condition? Are we not allowed to have time like we had with all the other vaccines that are on the immunization schedule? Just please consider that. I think everybody else has said a lot of things. I do have more, but my time's up. So thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And do we have someone else, Rosie?
Yes, we have Victoria Lacerda.
Victoria, once you unmute yourself, you're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Victoria Lacerda, and I have 2 boys currently attending EGE. In addition to having a full-time job, I'm also the treasurer for the PTO and volunteer the boys' sports. We have amazing teachers, and the school district has the money to pay teachers and classified staff more without raising taxes. These teachers are the ones that are enriching our children and make the schools what they are today. Please pay our teachers a competitive salary so we can recruit and keep them at our schools. The schools have operated in-person learning since reopening in April 2021 without COVID vaccine mandates. Given the recent events taking place in California, I'm here to express my opposition of a few items. As everyone else has stated, the letter that was dated 9/30/2021 was sent to Governor Newsom by the governing board, addressing their view of the vaccine mandate for this district is necessary. This letter did not address my view, and in fact, I'm against it. The COVID death rate for children is 0.0007%, and there has been 0 deaths in San Mateo County. According to the FDA panel on 10/26/2021, Dr. Rubin said, "We're never going to learn about how safe the vaccine is until we start giving it. That's just the way it is." There is a lack of research on long-term impacts for those receiving the vaccine. Only 3,000 kids were in the trial, but yet here we are being asked to put our children's lives at risk and be the testers for an experimental drug. All the other vaccines had years of studies before hitting the market. Our children, our choice. Families should have the right to make their own healthcare choices. COVID is still transmissible whether you are vaccinated or unvaccinated. In a letter to the community on August 18, Dr. McFetrick said, "The CDPH health order now requires that all school district workers provide the district with proof of vaccination. If there's any individuals who are either not vaccinated or not completely, they need to undergo weekly testing and provide the results." However, in a letter dated August 11th of this year, the California Department of Public Health defines workers to include volunteers who are on site at a school campus supporting functions. I would like to understand why the district only allows parents to volunteer at the school with proof of vaccination when the California Department of Public Health states that workers also be allowed to undergo weekly testing. Why aren't volunteers provided with a similar testing option? Once again, our children, our choice. There is no place for the government making a parent's decision on an experimental drug that is injected into our children's bodies when there has been so little time in the trials and uncertainty with their future health. If you mandate the vaccine, I will be pulling my boys from this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Next, we also have Jenny Carpasi.
Carpacci.
Thank you, Jenny, for being here, and apologize for not pronouncing your name. You have 3 minutes.
No problem. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So good evening. My name is Jenny Scarpacci. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the teachers at Fairlawn View. We're generally a pretty quiet bunch. We're the kind of staff that rolls with the punches. We rely on each other to get through. One of the best things about working at Fairlawn is the feeling of family. We know we can rely on each other for professional and emotional support. We're friends. That's pretty special. So it's kind of a big deal for us to use this public platform to voice our collective concerns. We've all, the whole district, been through so much these past years, but for us at Fairlawn, it began a few years before that. We had major issues involving student safety and a prior toxic administration. We've had our school community ripped apart, our Moonridge families relocated to Hatch, and we, the teachers, were the very last to know. They were and still are part of our Fairlawn family, at least in our hearts, and we miss them. Alongside that event, COVID hit, and like our fellow colleagues across the district, we had to scramble to make it work, to keep our students engaged and connected. We worked very long hours with zero separation of our work and home lives, and yet our troubles compounded. We felt like we had to continue to fight for COVID safety regulations, fight to keep ourselves and our students safe, fight for our raises, fight to stay afloat. During this time, are you, the board, aware that teachers were evaluated during the time when we were first learning how to teach online, scrambling to make things work, to relearn our profession? We were asked to justify our teaching. And as the year progresses, we are enduring that past trauma and ongoing trauma. Now our district leaders are trying to completely revamp our school schedule, taking away the very limited time we have to plan, to communicate with parents, to have meetings, and to consider curriculum. It seems like the worst possible time to make such a major change. Coupled with that and our inability to retain teachers and subs, we at Fairlawn continue to fear the closure of our school and the collapsing of our classrooms to fill vacancies elsewhere. We still have no access to Wi-Fi. Due to our lower numbers, we have to fight for basic services that are granted to other sites, fight to see that our students are treated equitably. I've never seen the morale or faith in the district leadership so low, and I've been teaching here for 17 years. This should be a major concern to you. We're hurting and asking for help and getting nothing in return. People are retiring early and leaving the profession altogether. Other districts are working hard to make this a priority, giving incentives to retain teachers. We love our job at Fairlawn. but we're exhausted. Stop taking advantage of us. Consider your decisions, knowing we're not expendable. There is literally no one to replace us. So please work harder and consider our needs and concerns. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Jenny, for being here. Benji, as soon as you unmute yourself, you're more than welcome to speak.
Hello, hi, thank you. Sorry, I have two going at the same time. That's my husband's. My name is Kim Darrow. I'm a resident of Half Moon Bay. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm a staff member at Half Moon Bay High and a parent of a student in the Cabrillo Unified School District. I'm responding to your overreach for initiating a mandate to force the mRNA gene therapy, quote unquote, vaccination on minors in the district. You claim that our community is devastated by COVID-19 in your letter and that our children are not safe. So I'm wondering, where is that devastation? And where's your data to provide to prove that? There is none. I won't go into all the data from the CDC about the children and the no risk and all that. We've covered that. So I'll get down to some numbers. We have the Pfizer BioNTech all events, which you know those events. Let me quickly say what those side effects are. Besides severe allergic reactions, myocarditis, pericarditis, Bell's palsy, brain bleed, paralysis, autonomic dysfunction, autonomic dysfunction, cognitive impairment, permanent disability, anaphylaxis, generalized malaise, and death. So far, according to VAERS, which is very underreported, Pfizer so far for all these events is 2 million. I won't go into the smaller numbers. And 69,000 deaths so far in just this year. Moderna, all the events, those side effects, 1,400,000 and 25,000 deaths, I'm rounding. So far in total, they have 4 million adverse effects with 102,000 deaths. Compare that to 25 deaths out of 55 million people that were required to stop the swine flu vaccine. This is reckless and dangerous on your part to ask this. This is completely a novel and experimental injection therapy with no medium long-term safety data. We all talked about this. You guys know this now. This was quote unquote vaccine was authorized under the EUA. The clinical trials are less than 1 year long compared to most vaccines. 5 to 10 years are required. We've never given vaccines to a population that wasn't studied for the trial. So what I'm going to say to you guys is, yes, this is a widely studied and accepted vaccine, does not prevent nor offers any protection for the spread or contracting of COVID-19. This is contrary to your claim that the vaccine, quote unquote, will reduce illness, hospitalizations, and deaths. That's a lie. And none of these treatments have been approved, cannot be mandated. You are not medical professionals. You are unlawfully practicing medicine by using coercion to insist this experimental medical treatment. You're in violation of the Nuremberg Code, and which prohibits forcing or coercing anyone from participating in experimental medical treatments. So you are all on notice. We will hold you responsible for illegally mandating this on our students. The community will be able to take legal action against you, and you may personally be liable for resulting in harm. So we will vote you out next year, the three of you. You have proven that you haven't even talked to your community before you said those things and called this into our town. We resent that. You don't represent us, and that is painfully staring at us in the face right now. So you are all on notice. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Sheer, you're next. If you unmute yourself, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Sharon, and I'm a resident and taxpayer to the Cabrillo Unified School District. My comments this evening are in regards to bullying at the elementary school level as well as the junior high school level. I'm in regards speaking to the California Code on bullying definition. This is sections 15.1-19-17 through 15.1-19 through 22. In the junior high school level, there's a group of children that are bullying other children that typically play sports there. They have been mistreating them and bullying them per definition. However, it has been brought to the attention of the principal and nothing has happened to the children, creating acts of bullying on these students. A girl That's students on students. A girl in the junior high school level was working in class and her mask fell beneath her nose. And the teacher screamed at her, out, out. And the girl left the class. And this is a disruption of the class and the students and bullying as defined in the California Code of Student and Safety. Another junior high school level student's mask fell below her nose and the teacher pulled her out of the classroom by her hair. There is an elementary student who is an IEP student and has medical problem that creates the child to drool. My understanding of this student is with an IEP does not have to wear a mask because the student's mask is completely drenched with saliva when he gets home. These incidents are unconscionable to say the least. Under 15.1-19-20, bullying prevention programs are in place. Each school district shall provide programs to all students in kindergarten through grade 12 level. It is time for this board to go over the rules with the teachers and the students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Angela. Rosie, if you want to.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
Hello, board members and supporting administration. I'm Angela Bolton. I just want to thank you all, first of all, for opening the schools. I know it's been such a hard year and I'm just so incredibly thankful the schools are open. Kind of the main topic that I want to talk about is making sure we do not get a vaccine mandate. So my request would be that you do not support or enforce or comply with one as Governor Newsom has proposed. Basic freedoms like education should not require a medical procedure. And it's certainly not, I think, ethical or moral for the board or a government to impose the mandate on students and dismiss a parental choice. Because we know that the vaccine is, well, I guess, it's been repeatedly shown in our literature that being COVID vaccinated does not stop infection or transmission. I certainly think it's not a public health issue. It's a personal choice or a personal health choice that someone could make for themselves without affecting other people. And kind of along that line, I see now that we're getting new information with the ability for the COVID vaccine to basically spread infection and transmission, that type of thing, or get sick. I see that there's, I think with different procedures with this contact tracing, I see that the kids that say aren't vaccinated are having to take tests, COVID tests to attend social events. And I just feel that, that can't be right if we know that also the vaccinated can spread COVID. So I think we need to relook at the current literature and say, hey, we got to keep this, figure it out, but make it across the board, I think. And then similarly, well, let's see what else. From your letter to Governor Newsom, it looked like you guys felt that vaccinating children for COVID would help parents feel more comfortable with having their kids in school. And I just want to say that I do not feel this way. I am completely comfortable with my children at school, and I would be even more comfortable if we could remove the masks. I would like the masks taken off, and I just think their quality of their day would be so much improved. And then, I've heard we need a court order to get a mask. So to do this masking. So please show me the court order for that. So anyway, I just want to say parental choice must always be allowed with the vaccine. And let's take those masks off. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. And Kim?
We already have Kim Darrow. I'm not sure if it's the same person. You let me know we should.
Did we have her on public comment? She wrote it in.
Yeah, she was with another name, with Benji D.
You better bring her in case there's someone else on her computer.
Yeah, just in case it's the same name but a different, another parent.
She said it was her husband or something.
Okay, that's fine. I can, as soon as you unmute yourself, you're welcome to speak.
So thank you, Lizette. So I am the same, Benji Darrow and Kim Darrow. But I did want to ask if you guys received money for requesting a mandate, but can you hear me?
We can, and you are, unfortunately, we're not able to comment or answer any questions.
Yes, I understand you're not able to answer the question, but thank you for allowing me to present the question. Just would be curious to see if you're receiving any money for that mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And I think that is it. Now we will be moving on to employee and organization.
It looks like there's one more, Stephanie.
Oh,
we have one more.
She just
one last one. Okay, go ahead. If you unmute yourself.
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just going to follow up with what some of the other parents and teachers have said, that the mask mandate and the vaccine mandate are parent choices, and that we send our children to our schools for an education and not so much for the cultural and social training that is perhaps being demonstrated. So I just want to second that. My children aren't, I've already pulled 2 of them, and the 3rd one will be leaving at the end of this year. And that's sad because I was PTO treasurer for 2 years. I served at Hatch for like 8 years on PTO. I turned my key in. It was very sad. I used to drive on field trips, and I actually just today reduced my insurance with my car auto policy because I won't be driving field trips. I feel like ostracized from the community that my kids and I have participated in for quite some time, ran the book fair, did the pumpkin parking, all of that. And now I won't be able to participate in any of that based on this pretty inconsistent with the actual science and the actual numbers decision-making that's happening in the district. And along that line, I just wanted to bring up the inconsistencies and the perhaps lack of critical thinking in our schools, that our children, when I did have somebody at Hatch at the beginning of the year, masked all day, masked inside, masked at recess, but eating shoulder to shoulder next to peers, but then masked to go play kickball. And the same, I believe, is at the Cunha and the high school level, like masked all day, masked inside, masked, but they're allowed to socialize and eat during their breaks near one another. And it's that idea that like, it might be easier to maintain order and like black and white rules. You just stay masked unless you're eating, and then, but our schools should be role modeling critical thinking, and our schools should be role modeling what it's like to actually look at the whole problem and not just be responsible for one narrative or one point of view, which was expressed in the letter to Newsom that other parents have brought up. That doesn't reflect, I think, the whole community. Lastly, I do agree. I heard somebody mention earlier that there's teachers who are, excuse my frustration, but mouthing off. Teachers should not have a position in a classroom to share their idea of the vaccine. My kids are not old enough to make independent medical choices for themselves. It's worthless. All they're doing is spending class time not addressing curriculum and not addressing children's needs and not addressing whatever else could be addressed, to take the time to, call out some of the students that have not been vaccinated. It's not even their choice. So it is, in my opinion, absolutely bullying and completely out of line. That's it. I hope that you guys take all of this seriously, and we look forward to, seeing what comes of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And Justin? Justin, if you unmute yourself whenever you're ready. Justin, can you hear me? If you can unmute yourself and whenever you're ready for your comment. No, Justin? No, Justin? All right, well, let's move on to Kim. Oh, is that Kim again? Oh, go ahead, Justin.
There's Justin is on mute.
He's muted, but he's put his hand down. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna move on to our employee organization reports. And it looks like Justin raised his hand again. Do we want to try and let him in before we move on, Rosie? If you can hear us, go ahead and unmute yourself. If not, we're gonna move on. All right, we're maybe he's having technical difficulties. He's unraised his hand. We're just gonna go ahead and move on. Employee organization reports. Someone here from CUTA?
Yes, and I will have Claudia Lundström.
Thank you. Claudia, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I think I got it figured out. Good evening, everyone. In CUSD, we all want our students to thrive academically and socially, especially in these troubled times. We agree that doing what is right for our students is our priority. We want our students to feel valued and motivated. We want our successes to be equitable. For this to happen, we, the CUSD community, need to work at our highest capacity. Current CUSD decisions, however, work against these goals. CUSD's essential workers are not receiving the respect, the support, or the compensation needed to meet these goals. The district, year after year, says it doesn't have the money, yet the CBO's dire predictions of financial distress have been wrong. Students are very much aware of the stress their teachers are facing. Students internalize this stress just as teachers internalize theirs. Is this what we want for our community? Common sense knows, and the research shows again and again, that students will not thrive if they do not feel valued. Neither our teachers nor our students feel valued given the recent decisions of CUSD. We have more unfilled teaching positions than any surrounding district, even the ones that are much bigger. Instead of scrimping to leave an excessive financial reserve, we need to work together to leave a legacy of academic and civic success. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you for being here tonight. Next, we have someone from CSEA. Stay whenever you're ready and you want to unmute yourself.
Sure.
Before you start, I want to say thank you so much for helping me at the last minute with these technical difficulties. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Good evening, President Cortes, board members, Superintendent Dr. McPatrick, administration staff, and community members. My name is Stig Linne, and I'm the president for CSA. I think I'm in my 8th year as president and 2 years as a vice president. CSA is the union that are for all support staff, and we have today 120 members of support staff in our district that I represent. So tonight, the district going to present to the board an MOU for the yard duties, and also lifting up the lowest paid staff, so we get up to over $15 to start salary, which is, just to make a comment on, is not the end salary. So the end salary is for the lowest classification to be like $8.50 an hour. CSA members had a meeting a week ago, and we decided this year, we donated, our members donated $1,000 to Costa Hope for Adopt a Family. And we also gave $1,000 for ALAS to support their community members. I just want to end this with in what I call it. I heard a lot today about parents, about vaccine and things. But I also know there is a lot of parents who also support the vaccines. They're always going to get two sides when we get down to the vaccine and how it works and everything like that. But I know for a fact, I've been contacted by parents tonight who are like, we want our kids to be vaccinated and be safe in our schools so we can get back to normal. And I just wanted to end my statement with that. And I understand that people are worried about it. And I know that it's a hard decision for you as board members. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stig, and thank you for being here tonight. Next, we have board member reports. Would any of you ladies like to go ahead first?
I can go first.
Go ahead.
So good evening, everyone. I'd like to start tonight by just expressing my condolences to the Half Moon Bay High School community for the sudden passing of one of our teachers. It's really a difficult time for many as a result, and I'm really grateful to our administrators and our counselors for supporting students and staff during this time. So that's kind of the sad part. Looking ahead to Thanksgiving break next week, which I'm sure I'm not the only one doing that. I've been really grateful for a lot of things over the past year and a half, 2 years, several years, difficult as the recent time has been and continues to be in many ways. What I'm really grateful for, particularly over the past several weeks, I would say, is a growing shift in mindset that I'm feeling across our school community towards centering students and all that we do. And it's not just our school community, but I'd say, beyond on the coast side. I had the opportunity to participate in a city council meeting earlier this week in support of recommendations that were presented by the Coastside Recovery Initiative, including one which was near and dear to my heart in terms of partnering to improve access to vocational training and post-secondary education for students on the coast side. There was a presentation after that one by Dr. Taylor Mendoza, who guest visited us a month or two ago. And I'm really thrilled by those partnerships that are forming between our school district, our CSM, the library, and the city and others. And we already see this happening and coming to fruition with the CSM course being offered at the Half Moon Bay Library this spring that's supported by our district too. So that was exciting. I also participated in the Coast Pride's debrief from last month's activities in honor of LGBTQ History Month. And I was also happy that the conversation there really was focused on kids and their participation and how it was, the events and activities were impacting them and might continue to improve in the future. future. So, and also at our schools, I'm seeing a lot these days at the high school, because that's where one of my 2 kids in the schools goes. And there are just a couple of things that stood out the last couple of weeks too in this regard. One is this fishbowl project that has been launched to really put students at their center and hear from them directly on their needs and perspectives, things like what they like to see more of at school, less of at school. And the intent is for that input to be taken directly into account in terms of how we work together as grown-ups to improve their outcomes at school. So that's pretty exciting. Also, I know several teachers are already implementing really equitable grading practices, including things that are described in the homework makeup practices that are outlined in the updated policy in tonight's consent agenda, and also who are really teachers who are really centering their relationships with students as whole students. And that's just providing such a wonderful foundation for students to learn and for everyone's wellness and ability to thrive. So I think that's been really exciting to see that growing as well. And our counselors also want to put a shout out as well, because they issued a really wonderful video coaching families and students on post-secondary education options and how to apply for college, financial aid, and more. And they're doing workshops like pretty much every day this month to help kids as well. So I also was excited because I got to get to El Granada for the first time in a long time, probably since COVID. Actually not counting the 5th grade promotion last year, and to catch up with a couple of parents and staff members there. I was able to visit 1st grade classroom at Hatch and stay there all day. It was so fun and really cool to get a glimpse into the day of a life of a teacher, as well as of our little students. So our youngest students, I should say. So all this, it just kind of like had me reflecting on how easy it is for any one of us to get kind of stuck in our own immediate world that's in our media zone, in our buildings, in our, immediate friends and family. Though it's just been really exciting to see when people have truly open minds, when people really seek others' perspectives and they collaborate as a team, where people really support each other and empower each other at the same time. We can really do much and really work smarter, not necessarily harder every time too. So I think that's been really cool. I just keep coming back to this idea that when we all focus on what's good for kids first and foremost, that flows out to the rest of us. So things don't, I think, necessarily trickle down from grownups to kids when we focus on us as grownups, but really focusing on the kids, it just flows from there. And our kids are our future. It's an investment that we're, all making here tonight, that people make every single day. And a continuum and a partnership with parents in raising and educating kids. So I hope we can all take this kind of sentiment into the holiday season and do that all together. So thank you.
Anyone would like to go next? Kim? Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Just had to get unmuted there. Thank you very much, Lizette. And thank you for all the participants that are with us tonight online. I appreciated actually listening to all of the comments tonight. I know we don't all agree, and I appreciate that this community has a sense of respect and listens for all of the voices. That's really important. I had the privilege to meet with a group of teachers at El Granada Elementary School this month. And it was the joyful piece is that each and every teacher, what I heard was child-centered. They care deeply about what happens to our kids. And we're not out of the woods on this pandemic. I hear the stress of what is happening. I know there were a couple of issues, and I let negotiations be negotiations, period, end point, and don't respond to that. Please know that I heard many other things that were just little bits and pieces. The fact that it is hard to get teachers hired. It is hard to, when you don't have subs in the classrooms when they're needed. It is stressful to be working in an organization that is spread really thin. And, you know, I also heard that they really respect their principal as well. So just know that you're heard. And I'm always happy to talk to folks one-on-one about individual issues. Some things we can't do anything about. And if it really requires action, of course, you work back through your system. I happen to be a supervisor in my own day job, government job. And I mention that because of the sensitivities around vaccines. And again, I know that different people have different opinions, but I, as a supervisor, am responsible for enforcing the federal mandates. And I do know that there are exceptions, and would anticipate that even the school systems are going to have other avenues to communicate. And I would look to Dr. McFetridge in the months to come to share as communications evolve, and they do evolve. I think that's the one thing we've learned throughout this whole pandemic is that we learn as we go along, and that when we hear different voices, we realize that there's information to share. So, you know, I've got to admit, I had coworkers that were also thrilled to get their kids vaccinated as soon as they were able. So again, I just want to hold in balance that there are many points of view around these issues. One of the final piece that I would leave us with is that it was a story on NPR this week referring to Congress, and it went back to Thomas Jefferson. They had this emphasis on talking about the issues, talk about the situation, talk about the facts, but don't spin it in a way where we're demeaning one another. And I think that that's so important. And I feel privileged to be serving with this board that values a healthy organization and being part of this community. So when you do have concerns, voice the concerns, feel free to talk to us one-on-one, but know that at the end of the day, we're all here to help the students as much as possible, and that we really do respect our teachers and are in violent agreement on lifting them up and making this a healthy place to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Freya?
Sure, I can go. I just want to reiterate what a couple of you have already said. Sophia, thank you for expressing condolences. I wanted to second that for the teacher, for his family and the community at the high school, for the teacher who's passed there. And also second, Kim, what you've been saying about really appreciating that the comments that were made tonight and made in a respectful way, and the communication that we have from teachers and from other parents. That is definitely our role as board members, to listen. And we want you all to know that we hear you. And again, can be differences of views and opinions, but we want to know that we really appreciate any input into all of our decisions. And we want to make sure that everybody knows that they're heard. So wanted to second that as well. We also wanted to call out a couple of items on the consent agenda. I was always really happy to see the CTE, the Career Technical Education, and the AG, the incentive grants. It's always great that those are supported at our high school in that level. Also, the energy and water management that they talk about. It's a new policy, a redrafted policy. We've had one in the past, but it also talks about not just the changes that we can make to our actual sites, but the curriculum and council that we can provide to students. So I think those things are really important. I was very excited to attend the CT Advisory Committee meeting this couple weeks ago. And it's just so wonderful to see the energy of our partners from the community who are helping to assist and advise our career technical education on construction construction. It's millwork, cabinetry, and woodwork. And so it's just really great to see that growing. And also the environmental committee, the district-wide one that we started, and it was really exciting. I just wanted to give a call out to our students who 2.5 years ago presented to the board. They were fifth graders at El Granada, and they spoke to all of us about the need for recycling and composting at El Granada. And Lizette and I both said, "Ooh, that's really exciting. We want to create that committee." And of course, things came up and didn't happen right away, but very excited that it's been started with the leadership from the high school students as well. But we found those children, and they attended the last environmental committee meeting. And it was so exciting to have them there and to show them that we'd done that work and that we really respected their opinions. They're now, of course, eighth graders at Cunha instead, but we still really appreciate their input and look forward to working with them in the future. So that was really exciting. So that's all. And happy Thanksgiving. And it's my favorite holiday, so I hope everybody enjoys it with family and friends.
Thank you, Priya. I'm super bummed that I missed it and I wasn't there. And on that, I also want to commend you for really empowering these kids and leading them to kind of just guide them to do this kind of work. And thank you so much. And that's exciting. They're eighth graders, so they're going to be going to high school where you're starting a lot of great stuff over there with those kids. So
we're trying to get them involved in Cunha too, actually. So
that's amazing. Yeah, I'm super bummed that I wasn't there, but like always, thank you for doing this for them and being their kind of guide and not doing what you want, but just empowering them and helping them, giving them the tools. So thank you for doing that. And Mary Beth.
I just wanted to reiterate, what you guys are saying as well about reaching out to us. I really want people to know that I really appreciate the emails that come in. I know this forum can be kind of hard to talk with each other and hear each other's thoughts. So, please email me. I love talking to people on the phone. I'll meet you for coffee outside, whatever you want to do. But I've had a lot of input coming in about things, and I've been talking to a lot of people, and so I'm glad to hear it. And so I want to please continue that. I'm happy to talk. I love talking about the budget. Walking in when I started to having to cut $2 million off of our budget has made me very sensitive and very interested in learning about it. So whatever you want to talk about. So I'm happy to talk, and please don't hesitate to reach out. I also want to say thank you to all the staff at our school. I know going back to school has been a big lift for everyone. There's a lot of different things going on, a lot of new things to learn, but I think it's really seems like it's rolling along. Students are enjoying themselves. So thank you to the teachers, the support staff, the administrators, and the students and the County Office of Education, which has been supporting us through it. So I know it hasn't been easy. We see you, we see what you're doing, we know you're working hard. And I think overall it's been a great experience for a lot of people. So I just want to express my thanks about that. Personally, I've been busy with some master's in governance courses. I've taken a community relations and advocacy course. I've also taken a government integration course, and I won't go into details about it this time as I have the last couple of meetings, but I just wanted to mention that those courses have been great because it's been really nice to hear from other people that have school districts that are different from ours, similar, different areas of the state. And it's pretty interesting how similar the concerns are. And it's been great to share some of that knowledge and hear what they're doing that might work or not work. So anyway, that's been interesting for me. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Mary Beth. So everybody went, oh, so I guess it's me. First of all, I would like to express my condolences to the Half Moon Bay High School faculty and the students for the death of the teacher up there. I mean, there's no words to really express when someone dies, especially someone suddenly like that. So my condolences. I also, like the rest of the board members, would like to thank everybody for their comments and and for taking the time to participate and be part of the solution. I think it's important that when something is happening and somebody's not happy with it, that's your right as a parent to express your concerns and let us see your point of view. It's also it's also me personally. It helps me kind of guide me with what I feel is the right thing to do. So I will always have that in heart, and it's not always going to be what some people agree with, but I think that I'm speaking as a Latina in this community, as a parent. I do have a child, and she is like, I haven't had time, but she's like dying to get vaccinated, and so I see what the concerns are of these parents as well. And thank you for your time and for your opinions. I would like to now I'm going to switch it off in Spanish a little bit. I'd like to speak in Spanish. Buenas noches. Quisiera darle primero las condolencias a toda la comunidad de la escuela de la preparatoria Half-Moon High por la muerte de un maestro de matemáticas. Creo que es algo que no nada más impacta a la familia de la persona, pero a la comunidad, a los alumnos y también a los compañeros de trabajo. También quisiera darles gracias a todos los que hablaron hoy en esta noche, a los que están aquí atendiendo y a los que ojalá escuchen después esta grabación. Es importante que como padres y miembros de esta comunidad tengamos esa oportunidad y tengamos ese derecho y esa libertad de podernos expresar. Y es importante como yo, como miembro de esta mesa directiva, escucharlos y siempre voy a tener el mejor de las... voy a tratar de hacer mis decisiones con las intenciones y con el mejor deseo para la comunidad. Y a veces no se va a parecer de esa forma, pero es importante que como padres ustedes tengan la oportunidad de comunicarse, de expresar y dejarnos saber sus opiniones y lo que piensan de lo que está pasando. También quisiera darle la felicidad a todos los papás que tienen hijos hoy en la escuela Hatch de la ceremonia de reclasificación que se tomó a cabo. Muchísimas felicidades. Es el comienzo de un pequeño paso en el largo camino de la educación de sus hijos. Les quiero dar como una mamá a otro las felicidades y es nada más el comienzo. Muchas felicidades y felicidades a los niños y felicidades a los papás. Y también quisiera felicitar a Rosalba Segura, que fue reconocida en una ceremonia por participar y toda su participación que ha brindado con la comunidad y que nos ha dado para involucrarnos más en una forma que podamos realmente apoyar a nuestros hijos y podamos seguir en este camino que a veces no es tan fácil porque no sabemos, como me dice siempre la compañera Kim en inglés, no sabes lo que no sabes. Y cuando no sabes ni qué estás haciendo, no sabes qué preguntar. Eso es importante. Y yo sé que Leticia es una gran apoyo para Rosalba y también, aunque no fue reconocida, yo sé que detrás, como se dice, detrás de las cámaras, siempre en nuestro distrito tenemos que apoyarnos unos a los otros. De muchas felicidades a Rosalba y también a Leticia y a Jesús, que siempre están allí abogando por a veces por los que no tenemos, no hay mucha voz, a los que no tienen voz. Muchas gracias. Y gracias por estar aquí. Really quick, I wanted to say thank you to all the parents and the students who were part of the Hatcher classification ceremony. And I was bummed that I wasn't able to make it there this morning because I was at work. And I want to invite as many teachers, as many people as possible to be there and to share this with the parents, because the parents are very grateful to all the great teachers who have supported their children and who have worked to get them to this point in reclassification process. So thank you. And I always encourage staff, parents, as many people who work with these kids to show up, because of you, these kids were able to make it. So thank you to everyone, and congratulations to the families and the students. I also want to congratulate Rosalba Segura for being recognized and honored for our ongoing work with equity and parent engagement. And like I said, behind every great person, there's always another greater person that's there to support them. So thank you, Leticia and Jesus and everybody who works, and Josefina. I mean, it's definitely a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but very well deserved for Rosalba, and thank you for all that great work that's being done. And I also, one last thing before I end, I would also like to, I wish sometimes I write things down, because when I'm at the spotlight, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. More than anything, just I would like for people to express how they feel and express their concerns and voice their opinions. But I also think we all as a community also need to take a step back and just look at how we perceive things, because sometimes it's not what's being done or what's being said, it's how it's perceived. And unfortunately, that's where the message gets lost. That's where sometimes things get misunderstood, or sometimes we don't take the time to see the other side. Like Sig said, everything is two-sided. There's always a two side to everything. And it's important to hear both sides, and it's important to just be mindful of other people's perceptions. As a Latina in this community, I am always struggling with that, because my first defense sometimes is like, I don't feel like I can get very defensive, and I think I have done a great job trying to just kind of be understanding and see both sides. And I think that's my job as a board member, but I also, as a parent and as a community member, I also think it's important that we as adults also take a step forward, step back, and just kind of listen to the opposing side and just listen. I'm not saying that anyone's opinion is more important or more valid. I respect everybody's opinion, but sometimes it's a matter of perception. And I think that's why I've been married for over 20 years, because it's about compromising. So it's not about what I want. Mostly it is, but and it's not about what he wants. It's about coming to a middle. And I don't know if this is, I love analogies, and I don't know if this is the only analogy I could come up with the last minute, but thank you. And I also would like to give you, Sarah, before I let our superintendent go, is there anything you'd like to communicate or share? Not your regular bulletin boards, but is there, oh no, but you have never mind, Sarah, you have your own spot. Sorry.
I didn't know that.
No, you have the communications at the student board representative report. I just wanted to let you know, Sarah, that whenever you also want to communicate something as a student board member and a student, you're more than welcome to not just go on what you have to read, but also just anything you want to communicate or let us know. You're always more than welcome.
Thank you.
You're on, Sarah, by the way.
Sorry, I was clearing my throat.
No.
Okay, I have my student board member report. So first up, we have El Granada Elementary School. November has been a busy time at El Granada. Our students are learning about Indigenous peoples through a variety of stories and activities. Teachers chose a school-wide book for this month called We Are Grateful by Tracy Sorrell. All classes are learning about our country's past and its impact on tribal citizens while reflecting on what they are grateful for in their lives. On November 5th, the students participated in our PTO annual fun run to raise funds for their PTO-sponsored activities. This year, we were able to have families come to the schoolyard to cheer for their students' grade-level classes. There were bubbles, music, and a visit from our school mascot, Cupcake, to join the festivities. We want to wish everyone a peaceful Thanksgiving holiday. From Fairlawn View, we have October was an exciting month at Fairlawn View, which culminated in our spooky Halloween parade. It was great to see parents back on campus as spectators for this fun event. November began with a school-wide ofrenda or altar in celebration of the Day of the Dead. We also celebrated Continent Day, during which each class was transformed with the help of our kind parents and students, where they were transported to a different country, different South American countries, to participate in hands-on activities and sample the local cuisine for our own South American country. It was a magical day of learning and fun. From Hatch Elementary, we have, since our last board meeting, our Hatchies have had a really fun month. Our Halloween parade was our first big on-campus event where we were able to have parents join us for the festivities. Each Hatchie was there to help us celebrate. Thank you to Mr. Alfiano for bringing his sound system to play some fun tunes while we help our parade. Many of our classes discussed Dia de los Muertos, and most of our immersion classes made ofrendas in their classrooms to honor their deceased loved ones. Mr. Ogario created a large oferta in the school library to share with our entire school community. We had a pajama day as our last day this month, and it was a fun, cozy day at school. In classrooms, I've seen Hatchies learning about watersheds with Mr. Phelps, earthquakes with Miss Monsetti, and a great giant spider even visited our kindergarten class with Miss Ramirez. Don't worry, he wasn't real. Lastly, I would like to share the wonderful news that we had 11 students who are English language learners reclassified today at our RFEP ceremony. We are so proud of them. From Half Moon Bay High School, we have the high school would like to publicly thank our PTO for their incredible support of all of our departments. PTO President Amy Broom and Principal Mr. Nazar went around to each department chair during class time and gave them jumbo checks supporting each department. I saw them, they were quite big. Our counselors are hosting college application workshops every day after school for any senior that chooses to attend. They are held in the library. We are excited to announce that this year's spring musical will be Little Shop of Horrors. Auditions will begin the Monday we return from Thanksgiving vacation. Congratulations to our girls varsity volleyball team. They won the PAL league title for the first time since 2010. Congratulations to the girls varsity water polo team for winning the PAL championship. Congratulations to the girls varsity cross country team for qualifying for the CCS championships. Extra congrats goes to sophomore Kia Kursig for qualifying for the state championship meet. Congratulations to our varsity football team for going 4-1 to take second place in the very tough PAL Bay Division. From La Costa Adult School, as we wrap up the fall semester at La Costa Adult School, we are looking forward to the spring semester where we plan to offer additional in-person instruction. Hopefully one more evening class, Mondays, and a daytime class, Tuesdays. We also have been working diligently with our local partners and agencies such as the HMB Library, Coastside Hope, CSM, and Sonrisas to build our future programming. Some major announcements. Coastside Hope is now offering citizenship classes on Wednesday evenings in Portable No. 1 on the Cunha campus. CSM is offering a facilities management course starting in late January at the HMB Library, and we are in the early stages of building a dental assisting pilot program with Sonrisas that would serve La Costa and Pilarcito students. From Los Listos, October was a busy month for Los Listos. Students learned about the pumpkin cycle, and students were able to measure pumpkins in different ways using manipulatives. We counted pumpkin seeds, and students made pumpkin Play-Doh. We had a small celebration for Halloween, and students brought their adorable costumes. We were preparing for parent-teacher conferences, and we started to incorporate zoophonics in our cool curriculum. So that's all I have for the student board report, but I did want to make some comments relating to the public comments. So I actually recently had COVID. I had it, Wednesday was my first day back at school, so fairly recently. I've been vaccinated since April, and it definitely has worked. I mean, there have been so many times where I've been exposed. I've got letters with close contacts so many times, but so I feel very fortunate that I haven't had to deal with it until now. Although I am a child, my symptoms were mild, but I did have symptoms still. COVID is still very prominent in our community. And although it might not affect children quite as much as adults, it does still affect them. And I do think that as a member of the community, it's our job to protect everyone, not just the students, not just everyone. I think we need to still be strict with our protocols to maintain the safeness, because although I probably wasn't going to die from it, my family could have, anyone could have. I think that's really important that we stay diligent about that. So I just wanted to share that. I think it's important to know that it's here. It's not just some hypothetical situation. It's in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And like always, thank you for doing a great job reporting. And I always appreciate and would always invite you to make comments, because you are part of our board and you are the voice, the student voice. And if I recall correctly, we're here because of students. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And congratulations to water polo as well. Congratulations to you. All right, next we will go with our superintendent, El Jefe.
Thank you very much, President Cortez. It's been a busy month, and November's been a very busy month. I'm filled with gratitude at this time. Thanksgiving is next week. I want to wish everyone a peaceful and restorative Thanksgiving. And I give thanks to being able to work in this community. And I know that there are many different opinions. I have a good friend who says there are many different truths in the world, and I respect the truths that were spoken tonight. There was a parent, Stephanie, that spoke at the end, and I was able to meet with her, I think last month, to hear her concerns. And I do have compassion and empathy for the feelings that she expressed to me in particular about her concerns about how she feels in the community. Look, I think this has often become very politicized. I think Stephanie and I talked about that. And at the end of the day, it is politics. It's about who gets what, where, how, and when. And in this regard, it is about the governor's mandate and the legislative mandate that this board supported, that it should be a state mandate and not our mandate. Los Angeles, Oakland, Piedmont, Hayward, other districts have mandated it. And we supported the idea that this should be a state decision. But I understand that there are people who disagree with that. There are many protests. But it is politics. Who gets what, where, how, and when? And in this regard, it's about who gets a vaccine, where, how, and when. But I do hear the concerns, and I do plan on continuing the updates going forward for the board and public on this count. I did bring the letter. Was prepared by San Mateo County Office of Education. Many districts in San Mateo County did the same letter because of the concerns we have had about people getting sick. So I understand that there's a contrary opinion, and I have respect for that. But this has been a very trying time. Nonetheless, I'm grateful that we are here in it. It has been Native American Heritage Month. I think it's been great to hear how schools have been honoring that and seeing the banners flying on campuses and remembering that we're on unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone here, who were the first peoples here, and to remember their gifts to us, their lives, and their sacrifices as part of our history. I've been visiting schools. I got to go to Hatch and do some playground duty the other day, which was fantastic. And was very happy to see the blue team and teachers and kids out there working on the monkey bars and doing all that kind of stuff. It was fantastic. And I got to meet with Amy Trainer, the department chair of mathematics, and Christina Baker, who spoke earlier tonight, a math teacher in the district, about math pathways. And sharing my ideas about how dual enrollment, how we're trying to get college classes on the high school campus, could provide us with higher level maths so that more staff time could be used to support students who might be struggling in maths, as I did in high school. I also got to meet today at Half Moon Bay High School with Sean Reardon and Claudia Lundstruth. I was happy to do that. We've been meeting monthly, and I always find that to be a civil and respectful conversation. And I think by talking through things, we get to work on things. And so I was thankful and grateful to them. Last week, there was the Boys and Girls Club Gala, Denim and Diamonds. It was fantastic. I want to thank Virginia Perry, the president of their board, and Jill Jacobson, their executive director. Was a fantastic event. And they did also, per President Cortez, they did honor Rosalva Segura with the Heart Award for her service. So that was fantastic, and good to see that credit given to the young people and to employees who work with the Boys and Girls Club, who opened the pods last year when we run remote learning, all the work they do for athletics. They've been fantastic partners, and it was great to be at that gala event. And meanwhile, we also are working on an agreement with the city so that the Boys and Girls Club, the Cabrillo Unified School District, and the City of Half Moon Bay Park and Recreation Department will be opening up the event center and tennis court at Cunha on the weekends. So I know there's been a lot of talk about pickleball and pickup basketball and that type of thing. And now that we're getting into a place where we feel better maybe about adults being vaccinated and more people being vaccinated, I think that will be a good thing. And the city will be arranging that, but we're happy to work with Boys and Girls Club and the City of Half Moon Bay on that to make that available to the community. I was happy to hear that Freya talked about the environmental committee. I thought that was fantastic. We've recently been able also to get more water barrels planned for campuses for water restoration. I know the high school is still working on their waste diversion, recycling, tri-bin sorting, composting. And we recently had a meeting with Sizerco, our solar partners, to talk about incentives that are now available to us for EV chargers at the high school. So we're looking at electrical vehicle chargers, and I hope to bring that to the board soon. I was also happy to go to the city council to talk about workforce housing at their invitation. And Lizette was there also. And we got to hear from a lot of people about how it's not affordable to live here in the district. And we've heard a lot of this, particularly with regards to our own employees. So I look forward to continuing working with the city and working with our real estate advisors, Brookwood advisors, and them bringing presentations to the board and public about how potentially surplus property might be used for district benefit, including workforce housing for our employees. That would be a great thing. And in general, workforce housing in the Bay Area, and particularly here in Half Moon Bay, I'm just so excited that the city in sharing that and moving forward with that. I do want to talk also a little bit about the vaccination conversation that just happened. I think it's just important to say that the letter again was a support for this being a state decision and a state mandate. The board did vote to support that. I heard tonight pleas from parents saying to resist that state mandate. That state mandate was supposed to be either January 2022 or July 2022, and there will be a personal belief exemption and there will be a medical exemption, but there is a lot more yet to know. And when people have asked me about that, I said it's really ambiguous. The governor just announced October 1st. We still don't know exactly what's coming with that, but there's time yet. That said, I want to say that we will continue to encourage families and let them know as a public service of places to get vaccines for their kids and for themselves. My Turn now, if you go to My Turn, you can find where to get a vaccine. This is opening up more and for the 5 to 11-year-olds. And as many voices as we heard for those who don't want it, we know there are voices of those who do want it. That said, I was reading in the EdCal paper today, there are a lot of parents who may be waiting, who may have vaccine hesitancy for their youngest kids because they understand that the risks may be less. But I did appreciate hearing from Sarah. It is there. Even if you're vaccinated, you can get it. Being vaccinated does help prevent, for many people, apparently mostly older people, the ability of getting really sick. I do want to remind people that they are predicting a winter surge. I do want to remind people that you should continue to take precautions. You should balance the risks in your lives. These are personal decisions. But as far as we go for schools, we must have masks. That is a mandate. It's part of the pandemic recovery framework in the California Department of Public Health. There are face coverings required of us. Right now, we're doing pooled testing in our schools to try to do everything we can to test and to do surveillance testing, which the board has supported and which is a best practice. We've hired on with a contractor to do contact tracing, worksite labs, and was just talking about that with the San Mateo County Office of Education and high school superintendents today. And we're all very grateful that we have worksite labs to help us with contact tracing. This takes a lot of work. It is important that we are taking precautions and balancing risks and doing what we can to protect our school communities. Again, and I say this with respect, but without apology, we will continue to encourage families to exercise their choice to vaccinate their children. And when we send out information about that, it is a matter of public information and public service. But I totally respect the rights of people to voice their opinions otherwise, even when these are different opinions than we might hold. And I just want to say I've been very happy to speak to many people with different viewpoints who have different truths over the years. In particular, I appreciated the hour and a half I was able to spend with Stephanie, who's a public speaker tonight, to hear her viewpoint. And I do have compassion and empathy for her. And I do think that to a certain extent, we have made decisions, like most districts, that are about protecting the many, and that there are some who still may disagree. I understand that. At the end of the day, we will see what the governor and the legislature do with the mandate vaccine, the personal exemption, the medical exemption, and we will continue to adapt as we hear what that legislation is. Finally, to end, I also want to take a moment to send my condolences to the family, to the students and the colleagues of the teacher at Half Moon Bay High School who passed away. We're trying to be respectful. I did meet with him. I did have an opportunity to speak with him. And it's a loss to that school community and his family and his friends. And for that, I have compassion and I send my condolences. So again, I wish everyone a peaceful and restorative Thanksgiving, hopefully a time of perspective, a time we can take stock in things, a time hopefully to take some time off. I know some of my colleagues will be working next week, as much as I implore them to take some time off. But I wish everyone a season of gratitude, of thanks, and of taking stock in what we have. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Next, we have consent agenda items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Are there-
Roll call.
Yes, thank you, Rosie.
Lisa,
Aye.
Mary Beth,
Aye.
Freya,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Kimberly,
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
5+1. Thank you.
And thank you for a big consent agenda. There's a lot of stuff in there. A lot of good stuff.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sean, for doing that. And I'm very humbled to see all our CSEA district employees and the great job and work that they do, and just all the work and the dedication and yet, like so many of us in the Bay Area and in our professions in general, are the amount that they make is very sad. It's very sad, but it's very real, and I'm glad to see that we're also trying to help our employees as well by trying to help and giving them what they deserve, and it's I still don't think it's enough, but thank you for bringing that. So with that being said, we'll move on. Yes. Next item is item 5. It's a general business. Do I have a motion to approve?
We have a presentation and we don't need a motion.
Oh, just kidding. Just kidding. Yes, it is a presentation. Thank you, Rosie. I mean, I'll get it right someday. Thank you. Do we have Dr. McFetrich, someone from Columbia?
We should be bringing on our principal, Amy McVicker.
Okay.
And again, this is a short presentation, a school presentation. We've been trying to do these at these board meetings so we can remember that it is about kids and about the school communities and learning, teaching and learning. So hopefully Amy can talk to us about what's happening at Fair Lawn-View.
You want to go ahead and unmute yourself, Amy, whenever you're ready. Great to see you.
Certainly, yes. My apologies. I was taking a little stretch break and then I was like, oh, I'm on. Thought I'd be on a little bit later. So this is a pleasant surprise. Yes, Rosie, would you mind? Yep, perfect. Read my mind. So thank you all. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. McFetrich, Dr. Bhatia, Rosie, and Jesus et al., and also my CUSD colleagues and members of the public. Thank you all for being here. My name is Amy McVicker. I am principal at Fair Lawn-View Elementary School, and I'm glad to be here presenting this evening. Rosie, would you move to slide 2, please? All right, as you can see here, I'll be providing general information about our school as well as specific enrollment data, our local assessments in use this school year, our enrichment programs, highlights from our single plan for student achievement, and finally, a brief glimpse into our school-wide environmental focus. Next slide, please, Rosie. Thank you. So as you can see here, we are located in Montera, a very small community with access to San Francisco and the Silicon Valley. We provide 167 students this current school year. Actually, it's now 168, soon to be 169, hoping that trend continues. But we had 288 students during the 2019-2020 school year and 200 during the 2020 and 21 school year. So we definitely have seen as you can see, a decrease in numbers, as mentioned by Ms. Scarpacci earlier this evening, when the decision to discontinue bus services to Fairlawn View based on parent and community feedback, in addition to budget concerns at the time, that did significantly impact our enrollment and has impacted our school quite a bit. But we are still moving forward with kindergarten through 5th grade education for our current students with an environmental science and mindfulness focus. And our mission statement is to ensure that all students acquire the knowledge and skills to excel in their next educational challenge and develop a love of learning as well as a respect for others and the environment. Together in partnership with our families and caring community, we strive to provide all students with a rich, academically challenging and well-rounded educational program. Rosie, next slide, please. All right, and here you can see our trimester 1 assessment window is currently open. Teachers are working hard to administer our English language arts and math assessments that you see listed here. Teachers in grades K through 5 are measuring independent reading levels, accuracy, fluency, and reading comprehension through Fountas and Pinnell. Teachers in grades kindergarten and through 2nd grade are administering ELA assessments, some through Fountas and Pinnell, and then entering data through ESGI. And our teachers in grades 3 through 5 are administering the Lexia Rapid Assessment, which is what we use district-wide at the elementary level in lieu of the CASP assessment last year. And so we'll be continuing with that to measure data. And in math, all teachers are administering Bridges assessments to monitor student progress in math. Next slide, please. So typically, if you were to click on the link at the top there, you could be whisked away to the California Dashboard School Overview and see current school data. But as you can see, there is a disclaimer there about our 2020 data. So I've pulled this in our school enrollment data from Infinite Campus, our student information management system. And we have 100, well, at the time I prepared this presentation, 167 students enrolled, 36 of which are Hispanic or Latino, 110 are white, 21 are 2 or more races, 18% are socioeconomically disadvantaged or receive free or reduced price lunch, 6% are English learners, and 0.6% are foster youth. All right, and thanks to PTO, CEF, and CUSD, we are very fortunate to be able to provide the enrichment opportunities you see here. We have science and STEM enrichment classes. We have music band class for our 5th graders. We have music and performing arts classes for our K through 4 students. We have art enrichment for K through 5 students. We have agricultural education classes, thanks to our partnership with the HEAL program for our 2nd and 3rd graders primarily. And then I believe in the spring, 4th and 5th graders who didn't have access to HEAL last year will be having an opportunity to participate in the garden. Through partnership with ALAS, thanks to CUSD, we have visual and performing arts classes for our K through 2 students. They're absolutely loving this new opportunity, and we can't wait for the next rotation of classes. And then we also have this year a new program for our, I'll actually talk about it on the next slide, I think, but we have Art and Science Enrichment Club after school for students in grades 2 through 3 and 4 and 5. Next slide, please. So for our SIPSA last year, we worked on that as it was a result of collaboration with our school site council. So our single plan for student achievement has allowed us to identify areas of need and to allot our limited financial resources appropriately. So 3 glows or things to celebrate about our SIPSA. We, through the SIPSA, we're creating new opportunities for our App Promise and English learner students, as well as students identified as needing additional social emotional supports through our new Art and Science Enrichment Club. And again, those are 6-week sessions that are taking place after school 3 days a week. And so far, so good. Their students are showing some really great artwork. There you can see students that created their own mandalas after learning about those. We also are continuing to implement and refine our school-wide positive behavioral interventions and supports. And we have reinstated some school-wide incentives to improve students' independent reading level, as well as to promote and celebrate reading. That often involves our a stuffed animal version of our mascot Whiskers traveling from classroom to classroom in celebration of reading log completion. So, and then one grow or area for improvement would definitely be our student performance on the CASP. So the last time our students took that assessment was in 2019. So we are hoping this year to see improvement in that. Next slide, please. All right, and for several years, Fairlawn View has incorporated an environmental focus into each child's educational experience. Our partnership with the HEAL Project has provided each Fairlawn View student with a solid agricultural education. Our science enrichment teacher has worked hard to bring more environmental education to our campus through the Ocean Guardian project, as well as our new rain barrel and the accompanying unit on watersheds, which was mentioned earlier on in the Hatch report, that Brian Feltz is also doing a unit on watersheds as well with our 5th graders too. And during one of our professional development sessions this school year, Fairlawn View teachers worked together to identify grade level environmental themes and topics to be taught at various points throughout the school year. And we're going to be continuing this work, and we'll have another professional development session centered on outdoor education. Our surroundings really do provide an ideal environment or setting for this type of education, and we're really excited about the possibilities under this environmental focus. And with that, we can move to the next slide, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Amy. It was a great presentation, and it's so awesome to see what all the schools are doing, even though we're not, I mean, I'm speaking on me personally, I don't have a child there, but thank you. And I always love how, you know, the teachers and how the students benefit from using just the beautiful natural resources that we have around, like our beaches and all those great things to teach them and show them and have them be there present. I mean, that's there's no price to that. So thank you for doing that. And I'm glad to see you. I haven't seen you, so.
Oh, it's been a while.
Anyone else has a comment or? No?
I'll just add the comment that it's just thank you for the presentation, and it's really exciting, Amy, to hear about your work to expand the environmental focus. So I think that is something that is so unique, and money can't buy that for schools that aren't located in such incredibly diverse, really special natural environments like Fairlawn View in particular is. And I would say to some extent, pretty much all our schools on the coast side are within, you know, a stone's throw of really incredible natural resources. So it's been really exciting to see over the years our schools start to take advantage of that in earnest. I know we've had the Coastside Land Trust Junior Stewards collaboration in place for a number of years, the HEAL project in place for a number of years. So it's, I think, you know, obviously Ag Sci at the high school. So it's really great. The more we can continue to get that, I think that has benefits, you know, across the board in interdisciplinary way for science, for math, literacy, arts, as well as social emotional well-being. So I'm really grateful for that. So that's all for me.
Thank you for your kind words.
Anyone else? Freya?
Thanks, Amy.
Okay, Mary.
Yeah, no, just the third, thank you for the presentation, Amy. And yes, it's wonderful to see the environmental science focus and to see Farallon persisting and continuing to do the great work that you're doing. So thank you to you and to all of your staff there for all of your hard work. So exciting to see what more comes.
Well, and it's great to be partnering with you, Freya. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting on the environmental committee. It's those late afternoon, right after school meetings are kind of rough sometimes. Like, yeah, double booked too often.
No, totally understand. And just, that is one of those things, the environmental education part, even though the committee is focusing right now on the waste reduction and practices, that is something longer term we want to look for, how to, create some more pathways or unity across grade levels across the district as well. So definitely Farallon View is the leader in that area. So appreciate it.
I also would, I'm sorry, go ahead, Amy.
Oh no, I was just going to say again, our teachers have been carrying this banner, if you will, for a long time. So I'm happy to be helping facilitate when I can. So.
Thank you, Amy. Like I said, it's great to see you. I would like to also remind everyone in the chat, Rosie has enabled the raise hand feature. If anyone would like to raise their hand and make a comment on this presentation item of 5A, this is the time.
While we wait on that, I just want to thank Amy McVicker also for her leadership and to her staff for all the great things that they've been doing there at Farallon View, and the PTO, which is fantastic. A great community, great school community there. And the kids.
We have one hand raised.
Does anyone want to go, or?
We have one.
Yeah, Kelly Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Kelly. You can go ahead and mute yourself and speak.
Sorry, it took me a second to figure out how to unmute on my phone. I, again, want to kind of resonate what everybody else has said. Amy did a great presentation. She has been such an amazing leader in addition to our school. And we, as parents, really appreciate everything that she's brought to our school, and especially right now, trying to get kids back to normal. Having events come back on campus has been a magical thing. We had Continent Day that just happened, which also kind of incorporates our environmental science focus. And we're also having our holiday bazaar coming up too. And so feeling that community feel at Farallon has been amazing. And that's so much in part of Amy's leadership. So we very much appreciate her at Farallon.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for being here. Anyone else? No. Well, thank you, Amy, for being here, and wish you well, and hope to see you sooner than later. And happy Thanksgiving.
Likewise.
Congratulations. Yes, thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night. Next, we will move on to agenda item 5B, which is a discussion. And would you, who is going to introduce or present?
I think Dr. Bhatia and Mr. Contreras will certainly lead this item.
Okay. Good evening, President Cortez, members of the board. We bring to you yet another one-time set of dollars with a very specific purpose. First of all, today is not November 8, it's November 18. Apologies for the typo. We will then let you know how is that we're going to be engaging over the next slides in what is called the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant. And we want to, these are dollars earmarked for professional learning for teachers and any staff that interacts with students. So we are going to be receiving over the 5 years from 2021-22 to 2025-26, $628,000. So these dollars are going to be then helping us provide professional development, and then Dr. Bhatia is going to be over the plan that we have devised, that we have begun to see how we're going to be using these funds. So the next slide, Rosie, will get us then onto what is it that we need to do to get these dollars. But before that, I want to let you know how it is that we qualified for these dollars. The California Department of Education looked at the number of FTEs that we have certificated and classified FTEs, and it assigned an amount of dollars that totals the $628,000 that we will receive. But it requires that we conduct a public hearing at a regular scheduled board meeting. That will be today. So we have this public hearing also with this, and that the board adopts a plan before December 30th. So at the December 14th meeting, we will bring a plan for approval. Over the next 5 years, we will need to report that to the California Department of Education how is that we are going to be using this grant. And we will do that before September 30th of each year. So we will be keeping you informed of how we are going to be making sure that these dollars get to serve our students. And what these dollars are earmarked for is in the next slide, activities that will be conducted to coaching and mentoring, that we can then look into the where our teachers and our classified people are and support the effective alignment of instruction to the standards, to the core standards, and that we re-engage students and get them to do accelerated learning. All this is online, of course, and coming behind the one-time dollars that we have brought before to you, along also with the social emotional learning and trauma-informed practices. So this, the next slide, then looks also as that we need to look into the positive school climate and how to improve inclusive practices. How do we get that notion of equity across all of our teaching and learning, such that we can have models such as the Universal Design for Learning and any PBIS and many other different frameworks that we already used, and that we will get to further the training along with this grant. And of course, it is also that we can make sure that we are getting our children to be, our English learners, to be acquiring academic English, and that we strengthened our professional learning networks. You have also heard that the state has incorporated ethnic studies. So some of these funds also are to support the implementation of ethnic studies. And last but not least is that how are we going to be affecting our early childhood, and then how are we going to be continuing the development of practices that are going to be supporting this our early learners. So these are the 10 buckets that are the 10 different concepts that we are going to be investing on, the $628,000. And Dr. Bhatia is going to be taking you through what we have been doing to engage our stakeholders. Now, the State Board of Education now has changed the the way that we call our stakeholders to get them to be partners in education. So now it is one concept is who are our partners in education, who are our stakeholders, who are going to be giving us some input as to how we are going to be using these funds. So today is the presentation of what we have done thus far to get input from our partners in education, the education of our children, and then we ask that you conduct a public hearing. Dr. Batia?
Thank you, Jesus. Good evening, President Cortez, governing board, colleagues, and community. And if you move to the next slide, Rosie, here you're going to see the input that's thus far we've conducted. Our team knows about the importance of although not required to get input like the LCAP and the ESSER plan, our team has felt that this money is going to the training of our staff, our CSEA and CUTA staff. And so we did meet with CSEA and CUTA leaders to share this great news of having money specifically for professional development, not services, only professional development. And I just appreciate Jesus Contreras and his connections with the state. He was able to bring this information to us. We had a very quick turnaround, no more than 2 weeks from when the state informed the California educators. Jesus happened to hear that. And so we had a very quick turnaround, about 2 weeks between now and when we asked, when we found out about the quick timeline of holding a public hearing in November and approval of the EAF plan. That's how the state is referring to educator effectiveness block grant, EAF. And here on this slide, you're going to see, so between, probably we had a week because we did have to bring the items to post for the board. We collected information by meeting with our CSEA, CUTA leaders. We also continue to collect input from our staff through a Google survey. And also we will continue to share this between any of stakeholder meetings or partners that you're calling them, Jesus, that now the state's now referring stakeholder groups to partners in education, to our partners in education. The next slide, Rosie, will show thus far, these are some of the themes that have come up through the survey, not only our meetings with our staff as well as surveys. So Kim, I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's an amazing strategy. It's called Visual Thinking Strategies. It's very supportive of all students, particularly English learners. It teaches, it's a strategy that will encourage students to utilize the verbal language through the art. English language development was a very common theme in the district. And again, this is input from our CUTA and CSEA staff. And also site-specific training on a specific core content and grade level content areas. Also, a theme that continued to reoccur were the social emotional learning supports, PBIS, positive behavior intervention system, classroom management, discipline. We also saw some requests for our staff to attend state and national conferences that are linked to Common Core state standards, again, subject and grade level specific themes. And I do want to say, as these survey themes are arising, our team just feels very blessed to work with a community of teachers and staff that understand and that the importance of equity and understand that ELD is a priority focus area. And we're just blessed to have a team that is all on board with the initiatives that have been presented here, our equity goals. The next slide, Rosie, will show you some of our next steps. And again, we will continue, the survey is open, so we'll continue to collect this input from our staff. We will need to revise and update the EAF block grant. So although we have not demonstrated here as part of the board package, you do see the block grant draft application. And you are going to see where, depending on where what the survey input said, we allocated the funds of where most of our staff and both administration, CUTA, CSEA, wanted to focus on within those 10 areas of focus. So although the 10 areas we're allowed to spend the funding within the 10 areas, it is up to each individual district to push the funds to 1 or 5 or 6. And as you can see on the additional attachment, there were some areas that were not as much of a priority as others. The next one is Jesus and his team, and plus our curriculum instruction team, Josefina, myself, we are developing an internal system for professional development approval process. So between now and in the spring, we want to streamline this system so it makes it easier for our staff to request for trainings, professional development, summer PD. The next one is allocating site-based professional development funds. This was also a theme that kept on coming up as we met with staff as well as reviewed the survey results. Staff wants to be able to decide at the site level what professional development can support that specific site with their initiatives. And as you can see through Principal McVicker's presentation tonight, it's wonderful to have a unified school, but it's also wonderful because in this district, all of our sites have a specific niche of what they focus on. For example, dual immersion. And so we want to be able to give those sites those opportunities to select specific site-based professional development. And as Jesus mentioned, we are coming back in December 14th, with the approval of the EAF grant. And we'll, yes, so that would be the next step. I do also want to point out that in the EAF budget, that was the document that was attached to the board packet. We are not starting, we want to expend funds starting 22-23, and we'd rather spend the funds 22-23, 23-24, the majority of the funds starting then, and then kind of taper off. We don't want to wait till 2025. That's basically what we encourage, and also we have received input that is a good plan to try to spend funds within the next 2 years, but not this academic year. So you're going to see that there's 0 funds allocated for 21-22, but we'll start the expenditure of funds halfway through the summer and beginning next year. And I believe the next slide is just questions, right? So does the board have any questions about this new EAF opportunity, EAF block grant?
I think you just answered it in the last sentence. Thank you both actually for the presentation. And I'm excited we have the funds. I was wondering, was that 600 plus 6 years to be equally dispersed over the years, or it's a block that within that time period that can be spent?
Yes, total is 662, and Jesus might remember. I know it's 660 something. Wait, we can't hear you, Jesus. But yes, we're not getting 660. It's total from start to end over the course of 5 years. It was 662,000, right? Hold on, let me just split my screen.
628.
Did you have to submit a request for how you're going to spend it? You have to submit a plan before you receive the money.
Correct. And that plan is attached to the board packet. It's draft. And then we'll come back in December and give you the final plan.
I know before other members continue, want to just remind in the comment area, in the chat area, that we have enabled the raise hand public comment for people to speak. And I think, I think you unmuted yourself, Sophia. Did you want to speak?
No, I had forgotten about the public comments, and I think it's a good practice to allow those public comments to come in and be completed before we discuss too much. So I'm happy to like pause, or I can, talk for 30 seconds.
Don't we need a formal public hearing as well?
It is a public hearing.
Oh, okay.
I think Lizette needs to open a public hearing.
Okay. Yeah, good point, because it's formally a public hearing this time. We should have that.
One would normally have a gavel and say, open the public hearing. Are there any public comments?
Somebody needs to give her a gavel.
I know. That's the only reason I wanted to be president, and never cool. Is there whatever Sean said?
So should we open the public hearing now?
Please. Yes.
And we're practicing wait time to see if anybody wants to speak.
And like I think Mary Beth or someone reminded us earlier, we always appreciate people's comments, but we are not in the liberty of discussing or answering any questions.
What I will tell people too is that there will be many other times when this will come back over time to be updated by Dr. Bhatia and Mr. Contreras about more specifics on this plan. But again, this is about getting us approved. It will come back in December so that we can get the money, and then there will be continued work ahead to inform the board and public about how this money will be used for the purposes outlined in the application.
I want to take this moment to just thank both of you, Leticia, Dr. Bhatia, and Jesus. I thank you for, it's not only, writing and applying for this grant, but also, taking the time to take input on the teachers and see what they want. I think that's so important because we could have the most, up-to-date curriculum, but it's important to also, like you said, every school has its niche, and every school has its priorities or its programs or whatever. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything that's going on in every school as well as you, Leticia, but thank you for doing that, because it's definitely important to hear the teachers and hear, how they best feel or their input on this and how to spend this money. And thank you so much, Jesus. And then after doing all this, you have to make it a reality. So this is just a start. So thank you for your hard work and your dedication. And I just, reading this whole thing is amazing. So thank you and for the support and for promoting, the teachers with, the tools that they need to help our kids and make them engaged and in the classrooms with meaningful classroom experiences. So thank you so much. Any more, I guess, if anyone else would like to say anything?
I'll just second what you said about engaging our teaching community, and hopefully the other staff as well that is in touch with students, paraprofessionals, and others that could also be supported through this work. And also just a kudos to Jesus and Leticia. I've lost track of how many of these different buckets of money we've gotten of these one-time funds since the beginning of COVID. I think it's literally, Jesus, you might know, 7 or 8 or 10 or something. And to Matt, I just want to recognize the complexity of managing a budget with such different yet interrelated pieces. It's not like it's our only PD budget. It's like a supplement to what we're already spending. And you have to track everything in such gory detail to put out in these various reports that are disconnected. I will allow myself one complaint and wish the state would have rolled this into some other plan like LCAP or something. But that said, I'm very happy we'll have 600 $28 whatever thousand to spend over the next few years to support our staff in growing and learning so that they can support our students to grow and learn. So whatever it is on those 10 list of however many items that are allowable to support, including ethnic studies rollout and including ELD, I think it'll be really great to see and grow and learn. So thank you.
I do want to give a shout out to Josefina and to Holly Lynn, because they, without them, they're the ones who help us keep all this straight. These dozens of different pots, and we're not including the private grants, right? The CEF,
yes,
and all the smaller grants.
It's a lot.
Yes,
it's super, super complicated. And if it would be not so bad if there were like discrete buckets for discrete things, but it's like lots of Venn diagram overlaps. So thank you to Josefina and Holly as well.
Look, I'll say we're grateful for funding and extra funding. However, historically, years ago, we went to an era of flexibility under great budget cuts. And we didn't have all these strings attached, all these different funding streams and all these different compliance buckets. And it really is very challenging. Jesus and Leticia, Josefina, Holly, Rosie, everybody here who has to manage all these grants and compliance issues is up to here with all the different requirements and all the strings attached. That said, there is more money. I'm not going to be bitter about it. I'm grateful for it, but it is a lot of work. And I do thank Leticia also for getting a survey together so that we could survey staff about how they would see these funds best used. But I do think if you look at the categories that the state has outlined, many of them are all in alignment with what we know we need to do to improve instruction and student outcomes in the district.
And also to that, kind of piggybacking off that, Sean, I think it's also really noteworthy at a state level how much, I don't know the state numbers, but just looking at our numbers are probably with this, probably around $7 million that we've gotten for one-time funding. And most of that is for people, right? So a lot of that is for hiring people. And I think that's not an insignificant contributor to the educator staffing shortage that we're experiencing even more acutely than ever across the state, which is compounded by a number of factors, that we would take like an hour to get into now, which we won't. But I think just that puts pressure on our HR departments, that puts pressure on administrators. It's a good thing, but I do want to recognize the extra demands that it has on our staff. So thank you for taking that on and still, taking care of kids and building and rebuilding and fixing and all the work you guys do.
Sure. My question is directed to Sean in the spirit of recognizing how California makes things very difficult in terms of accountability and reporting and these extra levels of bureaucracy. I heard that Tony Thurmond is doing a tour of the state and actually talking about what the wants and needs are going into the future, given our kind of windfall of funding. Is there potentially a voice that we would want to present or a point of view that we would want to input at the state level on behalf of Cabrillo and San Mateo County or the Bay Area to Tony Thurmond, since that he's actually on an active listening tour right now?
Yeah, I mean, we, in the education sector, in our business, we kind of rely many times on strength through numbers. And the people who advocate for us will include California Teachers Association, California Schools Employees Association, the Association of California School Administrators, the California School Boards Association. Capital Advisors is a group that actually helps fund this. So when the discussion comes to the budget, and now that they're talking about this windfall of dollars that California has not seen in many years, decades, I think you will see us sort through these golden threads of the different advocacy groups, whether it be CUTA, CSEA, AXA, CSBA, and we will certainly work with Capital Advisors and San Mateo County Office of Education, probably to continue to have letters to send to Thurmond and legislators. It's probably too soon to tell now to do that advocacy. I think we'll know more about that when we see where they park the dollars, where they allocate the dollars. The article that I read today, of course, they're saying, because of, I think, the GAN limit and Prop 98 guarantee, some of this money will go to education. Some of it may go back to the taxpayers. Some of it may be used for other purposes. So I think we've been advocating, a lot of us, for the last decade for more money, more money. Now we just need to advocate for putting the money where we need it the most. In one particular purpose, I would say, one thing that I've seen the advocacy, and I share this, is remember they changed the pension calculus, and they started passing those costs on to employees, and they started passing costs onto the districts. And those costs will continue to rise. We've had some relief. If those monies were provided to us for pensions, for example, those are operating costs that we could bring to bear for salary, for services, for programs. That's one area. I do also feel like the problem we have with all the different asks is the splintering and the lack of focus we have. Although I did not like it when we had a budget crisis years ago, over a decade ago now, what I did appreciate was that it afforded districts more flexibility. And then the LCAP came, and the LCAP sort of like said, you can spend the money, but make sure you spend it in these ways. And then there was a lack of accountability. Some districts were waiting for the dollars to fall out to the bottom line and then just using it for things that weren't mentioned in the LCAP. So it is a tension, but I think we will know more about this when the governor comes out with his budget proposal. And then, of course, we are in this waiting game until May to see the May revision from the legislature. And this year, that never stopped. That cycle continued through the summer, and it's continuing today. So, Kim, it's an open question about what we will advocate for, but I'm sure that we will be bringing you letters of support, which some people will agree with and some people will not agree with, but we will make recommendations to you in the future based on the different advocacy groups and where we think the money should be spent. Special education is one for sure. The special education costs are huge and have never been totally, and we have some relief from the feds coming and from the state, but special education costs, pension costs, these are big things that I would say if those costs were relieved, then we could start spending money on other things like student programs.
One of the things that was, and I know I've mentioned it before, but when the LCFF formulas were created, originally there was a locality index across California, and it was dropped out at the very end. Some type of locality index, like other states have, would go a long way for helping Cabrillo and other Bay Area districts. So as a community, it might be worth socializing.
Well, it won't help us anymore if we stay basic aid. It won't matter. But for other schools that aren't basic aid, it will, right?
Still, no, actually it would. I can show you on paper, because if the LCFF were raised in the Bay Area, we're going to be a flipper district again.
Right.
But it would, right. Okay. When that formula shifts, people that are in basic aid that are close to the threshold will get more money because of LCFF. So again, it's a much more complex model.
Declining enrollment, and then we're in the crapper. But okay, yeah.
There's a number of variables that would change our status.
It's a whole nother discussion, but yeah, okay.
I know that Mr.
This is the regional politics of, perceptions about the wealthy Bay Area and why it's been a bit of a non-starter historically in the legislature or with the governor. So it's a tricky thing.
I mean, the majority of Bay Area districts, the majority of basic aid districts are here in the Bay Area, particularly in this part of the area. We're in one of those areas where we're basic aid-ish. We've flipped before. We could flip back again. I mean, that is our nightmare, which is what happens if, I mean, I'll have to say it, if LCFF funding goes up and declining enrollment happens and we flip back into LCFF, that might not be great for us. And Mr. Contreras will be presenting more on budget and in December, I believe, and talking about the information we will be getting. And talking about what our projections have been and whether or not those panned out, if they exceed or they are less than. And I'm going to leave it there. This is why we are always very conservative financially. But on the other hand, when money comes, like it did last year, that was when we were able to resolve our salary negotiations with CUTA. And I look forward to getting back to the table with CUTA in December. To continue to try to reach tentative agreement. I think we've made progress, but there is still a lot. This is extremely volatile time. California is one of the weirdest budgeting states for education, but I will again say I'm grateful for the more dollars that are coming to us, even with all these strings attached.
Thank you. Thank you. And I guess no raised hands were
Hey, we need to close
close it. I was about to do that. We're gonna close now the
Public hearing.
public hearing. Thank you. If I had a gavel, I would do it, but I don't, so I'm just closing it with my voice. There you go. Thank you, Frey.
Close the public hearing. But I will say that this was not an action item. It was a discussion item. You've had some discussion. Again, this is sort of a requirement of us to have a public hearing. You'll get more information on this. We just want to get in queue for those dollars, and there will be more reports coming forward about how this gets decided and our recommendations to you as a board.
Thank you. And thank you, Jesus, and thank you, Leticia. Moving on to item 6, future events. November, I can't believe we're almost done. November 22nd through the 26th, there's a Thanksgiving recess, so there will be no school. December 1st, budget advisory meeting via Ring Center, 6:30 p.m. December 1st as well, school finance office as well through Ring Center at 4 p.m. And December 7th will be the family engagement series, Coastside Pride, a guide to non-binary pronouns and gender fluidity via Zoom at 7 p.m. Also on December 14th, there will be a regular board meeting, and the location is to be determined, as well as 6 p.m. There's another thing I also want to take a moment to let families know that there were, unfortunately, on Monday earlier this week, there was a presentation for parents, and just it was through Cunha, and it was basically a presentation on substance abuse and what to signs and information on what the current popular drugs are. It was in English, and it was great. They will be hosting it in Spanish in 2 weeks. So if you want to translate that, Josefina, it was unfortunately had to be postponed because the link wasn't working. It was supposed to be held yesterday night. But thank you, and thank you for being here tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I want to just say, just FYI for people watching, that our next meeting's on a Tuesday instead of a Thursday. Just FYI, because everyone's used to Thursdays. That's all.
Thank you, Mary.
And
thank you.
just to clarify, we post the events as to be determined, because when we post, we don't know if you're going to pass or not the resolution to continue with virtual meetings.
Correct.
But we approved that, so it should be on soon.
Correct. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you for that. And Mary Beth also. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
We need a roll call, Lizette.
Just kidding.
Lizette,
I.
Mary Beth,
Aye.
Freya,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Kimberly,
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
5+1. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you. Thank you and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.